Thanks, Phil. My part's very small in this. I'm not an IT expert as such. But over the past few months, we've had a team of dedicated staff at EOS working on a new suite of products and services targeted for the energy sector to help shape a quality workforce. As I said, I mentioned the other day that EOS is working towards a fully vertically integrated system to support the national training packages. This is part of it. And today we are very excited to launch the new venture called Energy Space. Energy Space is a not-for-profit arm of EOS, offering online resources which will be invaluable to stakeholders such as RTOs, employers, apprentices and potential apprentices. EOS is well placed to offer these resources due to its unparalleled experience in the energy sector. Importantly, it is good timing for the products and services to hit the market, with the energy sector projected to expand rapidly in the preceding years. We encourage you to learn more and talk to our Energy Space team about how we can tailor services to your needs. Without further ado, I'll pass you on to Ben Taylor, who will reveal the Energy Space products and services on offer as of today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity today to launch our Energy Space brand and to demonstrate some of our products. So obviously that's our logo there. We've gone for the red and the blue. I hope it's not too bright for you, but there we go. We've been working we've been liaising over the last few months with a wide variety of stakeholders to try and ascertain what sort of services and products we can provide to the industry that would best assist apprentices, RTOs and employers in particular. So we've put together a suite of products which we think initially is a good fit for those stakeholders. But obviously we're always looking to improve, so any advice or any suggestions that you may have, we'll be more than happy to take that on board and try and improve our products. So to explain Energy Space first, I'll be talking about what it is and how you can benefit from our products and services. Then I'll be walking through a sample apprentice life cycle from pre-apprenticeship into their apprenticeship, and then talking about their interaction with the RTO or the employer. Thirdly, I'll introduce a video from Michael Boyce at PeerVeet, who'll explain some of the benefits that they've found using our LMS at Peer. And then of course David Cox will give a brief presentation on how they're implementing our LMS at Peer. And then finally I'll launch our website and link through to that. Hopefully that link works. Okay, so as I said, it's a suite of products aimed at apprentices and potential apprentices, employers and RTOs. In particular for apprentices, we'll have things such as the readiness assessment, learning resources and the Find a Job toolkit. Services that will assist employers include the Apprentice Portal, which is where employers are able to view high quality candidates that have already passed the readiness assessment. So we know that they have strong literacy and numeracy skills. And then of course the RTOs can benefit from our learning management system, our student dashboard and other reporting. So to demonstrate how our products will work, I'll walk through, beg your pardon, I'll demonstrate how RTOs can save time, effort, and I'll walk you through how an apprentice will interact with our system. So the first interaction that our apprentice will have with our system is through the readiness assessment. So this can be typically completed by the student before they get an apprenticeship, and it will assess their literacy and their numeracy skills. It's validated to comply with ACSF, Australian Core Skills Framework, and is mapped to the qualification as well. So some of the areas that we assess are fractions, estimation, percentages, Pythagoras, trigonometry, as well as literacy skills. Typically these are run by the RTO or the employer and can be a source of revenue for the RTO, where we'll enter into an agreement with the RTO or any sort of organisation to run readiness assessments. It's a very, very good tool in that it provides students with analysis of their skills, where they're strong and where they're deficient, and we also supply resources to assist them to improve their skills in whichever area may be deficient. It also allows the RTOs to assess any deficiencies prior to the student getting too far into their apprenticeship or into their qualification. So it allows the RTO to put in some remedial work, or the student to put in some remedial work before they actually start their apprenticeship or before they start their qual. Other benefits include, particularly for schools, an indication of the sort of skills that are required in the electrical industry. So I think we've found that a lot of schools really don't have that much of an idea of the high standard that's required in our industry, and I think this has given them the opportunity to get an appreciation of the technical skills that are required, of the core skills that are required. So we have our Find a Job toolkit. Now what this is a tool which assists the apprentice to find a job. So obviously a lot of apprentices have never sought a job before, and they really have no idea how to go about it. So what we do is, once the student finishes their readiness assessment, we provide advice and tips on how to find a job, how to submit a resume, tips on enhancing job applications and so on, and how to engage employers. We also provide a community where potential apprentices can talk to each other and get advice and tips off each other. We also provide some coaching from an energy space consultant to provide advice and assistance as they go along. If the student has met the predetermined standards for the readiness assessment, they are also able to get onto the apprentice portal, which puts them forward in front of employers as a student that's appropriate has the appropriate skills for the electrical industry. We also give them a certificate that they can take to a potential employer as proof that they have the skills. So how do we link the apprentice with the employer? And that's through our apprentice portal. So that's an online system where once passing the readiness assessment, a student can choose which area they wish to work in simply by dropping a pin on a map. And then they can put multiple pins if they want to work in multiple areas. The same goes for the employer, so they can register for the apprentice portal, put pins on maps to say which areas they're employing or would like their apprentices to work. And then when certain criteria is met, so there's a matching for, if an employer wants a driver's licence, for example, it will match students in their area who have a driver's licence and will display that on a screen for them. So the employer is then able to contact the student, and it's a student that they already know has the skills required. So in that way, I think it removes a lot of the hassle out of trying to find an apprentice. You don't need to advertise. You can just use our system, and you already know that you have a candidate that's high quality and is likely to be suitable for your area and for your company. Okay, so other services that we'll be offering RTOs and employers is recruitment services. So what we'll have is we'll offer services around phone screening of potential employees, recruitment training. We'll be able to shortlist applicants and do phone interviews and reference checking. So that's available for, obviously, on a commercial basis for employers and RTOs, as I mentioned. Now I'll just get into our learning management system. So what we have is a learning management system which will have all of the mandatory units for 30811, electric technology electrician. And will include things such as the unit content, topic quizzes, which are, I guess, a summary of a topic and allows the student to test themselves as they go through the unit. Unit assessments, which is a more formal test, obviously, knowledge and skills, and it's all mapped to the training package. And the mapping for that is provided in the UAPs, which is the unit assessment plans, which is obviously provided as part of the LMS to the RTO. Now, these tests are all automatically assessed. So as soon as the student submits, it's marked, and it can be accessed via an online web application which can provide reporting around the topics and the questions that the student has answered. And it's all, as I said, it's all mapped to the training package. Now, obviously, with our units on the LMS, they'll be continually updated. So as soon as we finish and implement one unit, we'll be looking for advice and feedback on the performance of that unit, and there'll be a continuous improvement ongoing to make sure that our units inside the LMS are the highest quality. So we're always looking for feedback and advice on those units and how we can improve them. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have our LMS, which is the main interaction the students will have and the teachers will have with the units and so on, but we also have our reporting system. So as part of that, that includes a student dashboard, which tries to provide a holistic view of the student's progress. So it will show all of the units that they're enrolled in. It will show their profiling component, so it ties in the on-the-job. And then obviously you can also access everything that the student's been doing inside the LMS, so the unit assessments, topic quizzes, and it'll also track how many contact hours they've had at the RTO versus how many hours they may have spent online at home. So obviously there's nothing to stop a student accessing topic quizzes and so on in their own time. So our system does allow for students to test themselves as they go along. So I'll just show you what that looks like. Okay, so this is a view of typically what an RTO would see on their homepage. So at the top there, they can select a student. If they want to see a student record, they can select a student, and it'll go straight to that student's record. To the right, you'll see the readiness assessments or the unit knowledge tests, which are upcoming. So it gives them a little bit of an idea of which tests are upcoming and how many students are enrolled in those tests. And then at the bottom is all of the units that the RTO is currently offering and how many students are enrolled in each unit. Okay, so to go into a student record, and this is there's quite a little bit of information on this screen, so what I'll do is I'll break it up into a number of slides and I'll just run you through each component. But what this does is it does try to provide a holistic view of the student and how they're progressing. Okay, so the first one is the readiness assessment results. So if the RTO wanted to review how the student went in their readiness assessment, you can see here that this student did very well in the literacy and also very well in the numeracy, but they got a couple of things wrong. So you can go into that test and review what they did, which questions they got wrong, and then you can tailor any remedial sort of work around the questions that they may have got wrong. Okay, so as part of our system, we also tie in what we call mentor visits. So if an advisor or a mentor meets with the student, we have an iPad application which can be filled out, a number of questions are asked and so on. It's sent into and inserted into our database. And this here is a record of everything that's happened for that student. You can go into what the mentor the questions that the mentor asked and what the answer was given. So, for example, you may ask a question around workplace safety. If the student comes back with an answer that probably needs to be highlighted, that will come up as an alert within the system. And this is just an example of one of these visits and how it looks when it comes into our system. So it generates a PDF which we can retrieve at any point and review. Okay, so the next one is just the current units that the student's currently enrolled in. Now the numbers there on the right are the online hours. So that's the total amount of time that student has spent using that unit on our system. The column next to that is the contact hours. So that's the number of hours the student has spent online at the RTO that they're enrolled in. So you do get a bit of a feel for how much time that student has spent in class and how much time they've spent working at home. Okay, so profiling. We have a daily feed into eProfiling at the moment, which will bring back all of the profiling points for that student. So from there you can get a bit of a feel for what they've been doing on the job. So obviously this student's been installing some apparatus but hasn't been doing any assembly. So it provides a bit of an overview, and so you get a bit of an idea. Okay, so student unit reporting. You can also look at their knowledge tests. So this student has done a knowledge test, but hasn't done any skills assessments as yet. But if they had, obviously they'll be listed there. You can also view the reporting for the topic quizzes. So any topic quizzes that they've done, typically the way they've been used at the moment is they don't go against the assessment for competency, but that's up to the RTO. If they want to use unit topic quizzes, so long as it's fine with the RTO, they can go against competency. But typically at the moment, they're just used for training purposes. So you can see here that this student's gone through pretty much every topic, but has only done the quizzes once. If they had done them more than once, there'll be more than one record there showing as well. So this is where we map the unit knowledge assessments and the skills assessments with the training package. So what we've got here is every dot point in the training package has a record there, and then if we found evidence to support that student has got that question in the knowledge assessment correct or in the skills assessment correct, you'll be able to click through and see that evidence. Where no evidence exists, obviously we say no evidence found. So it gives on a single page, you can see some areas where the student may need further assessment before they can be ticked off as competent in that dot point in the training package. This is another report that we provide on the knowledge assessment. So each question is obviously mapped in the training package and has a topic name. So you can see here, say 1.3, the student got that question correct, the top one there, where the fourth one down they got that incorrect, so that wouldn't be mapping to they wouldn't have that as a competency on the previous screen. So you can go in and view exactly what question they got right and which questions they got wrong. Now what I'll do is I'll just throw to a video from Michael Boyce who'll demonstrate, we'll talk about how PeerVeet is using our LMS and take that away.
My name is Michael Boyce. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for PeerVeet. PeerVeet is an industry-owned, industry-operated group training organisation and a registered training organisation operating in South Australia. We know that the industry is certainly gearing up towards a more competency-based progression style of learning, and we know that that has significant change impacts coming for the future. And we wanted our college to be ready for that, and we want to be prepared for what lies ahead. But why we specifically got involved is because we certainly saw it as a way of improving our own resources in the college. We certainly saw it as a way of moving to that blended learning methodology style of learning that we know that the learners of today are more craving for and are more used to and more responsive to. And that was a significant, I guess, a significant factor in our decision. One of the benefits that we've been able to see already is that connection between the theory and the practical. That, traditionally has been perhaps the chalk and talk of the past, and then the hands-on. We've sort of come to realise that connection between the two is much stronger. And the feedback we've had from our students, say over the last 12 months we've been utilising the LMS, is that they're much happier in that style of learning. They're much happier because they're spending more time in practicals in the workshops. And of course, as we probably all know, apprentices love that hands-on style of learning. So the LMS has delivered results to us already. Clearly we still believe that the national set of resources is one of the benefits for our apprentices. As they move around the country or whatever, it allows them to develop those skills that will be recognised across Australia and certainly across the world for that matter. Our long-term vision for Peer and the LMS was that it would provide us with a national set of consistent and validated and moderated resources. One of the secondary benefits we also saw was that the cost of developing and maintaining our own resources would be reduced. We see it as certainly providing competitive advantage for us and our college, and we also see it as providing competitive advantage and benefit for our students. And that can only benefit industry, employers, and all the stakeholders engaged in this industry.
Okay, so I'd now like to pass over to David Cox, who will provide some more information around the implementation of our LMS at PeerVeet.
Thank you, Ben, and good morning again, everybody. Implementing the learner management system, we use the same strategies as we did for introducing the MAP program. Communication and planning. Again, vision and clear direction were communicated to staff in relation to the planning, adopting and implementation of the LMS. An LMS committee was formed and made up of management, trainers, principal trainers and stakeholders to develop the implement strategies to collectively assist in the smooth transition from what we refer to as lockstep training into the new blended learning model. The LMS committee continues to meet regularly because, like all new things, there's situations that need to be dealt with daily. The next thing was the infrastructure, which I touched on yesterday. Part of the planning and implementation involved the setting up and modifying of classrooms with 64 laptop computers installed in 4 dedicated classrooms for students to access the LMS. A review of our IT system was required to ensure that it would support the additional internet traffic, which we'll be monitoring, as we continue to expand and blend our training model. In the future, we will cater for students to bring their own devices to access the LMS. Again, we needed to have a dedicated MAP champion, as you've all met Phil Dodd at this point. We needed that to happen so that the implementation could be driven from right across the board. And the LMS trainers are tasked with keeping the students informed of the LMS and their expectations to include regular activity reports, feedback regarding their progression throughout the units. In addition, we provide out-of-hours supports to students 2 nights a week, offering them direct one-on-one tutorials and assessment resets online support via emails. And that's important once again because this is a new concept for students also. So we felt it imperative to offer that extra assistance. Finally, the transitioning of students onto the LMS. Students and employers were communicated in writing in relation to the implementation, rollout of the LMS. A select student group were transitioned onto the LMS and the system trialled. More groups were successfully introduced, as I mentioned yesterday, onto the program over a structured rollout period. But all in all, it has been a very successful rollout, and I must mention that the support that Ben Taylor and Energy Space have provided and will continue to provide is a wonderful opportunity for all. Thank you.
Okay, so just to finish off, I'll briefly mention some of the additional services that we'll have on offer. So these include things such as web hosting, application development, and PD in terms of teaching for the LMS, using our LMS, and so on. Now, without any further ado, except for that, I'd like to officially launch our website and bring that up on the screen if we can just click on that and then I'll open it up for questions. Oh, that's okay. What we'll do is that's essentially what it looks like. It's at energyspace.com.au. I encourage you to please log on, have a look. There's a number of resources and around about what Energy Space is, the products we're offering, and the stakeholders that we're offering the services to. So what I might do now is just open it up for questions. So if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.
Walter from TAFE New South Wales. I was just wondering if you've got a strategy to, particularly around the readiness assessment, which is all about young people selecting careers, to get this into the schools, because to me it would seem the obvious place to gather the students, because you mentioned it could be done with the employer. Well, if it's happening with the employer, it's too late anyway. So it would seem the school space is the right place to do the readiness assessment and promote that in the schools.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the schools is one of the markets that we're definitely very interested in talking to, because as you say, by the time it gets to the employer, it's generally too late. And what we have found with our experience over the last 18 months or so is that the schools generally aren't aware of the standard that the electrical industry requires in terms of literacy and numeracy. So the earlier we can get that message out to the schools, the more that they can assist their students getting into a trade.
Over here.
Thank you, Ben. Jonathan Andrews from Energy Skills Solutions here. Just a query on what control measures you have in place for when the students or potential apprentices are doing it online as for readiness and ongoing, that the right apprentice is doing it, or whether they are doing it on their own, or whether they're being assisted?
Yep, so in terms of the readiness assessment, we have a requirement that ID is checked. So we have an agreement with the RTO or whoever's running the readiness assessment that ID is checked and it's signed off, that it is actually the person that is doing the test. So that's one of the key features of the readiness assessment, is that it does need to be, we do need to be assured that the person's result is the actual person. So all of that is checked before the student completes the readiness assessment and signed off. Under supervision, yes, that's right.
Do we have another question? Down the front here. Just wait for the microphone, please.
David Bryant from Central. Could you tell me the cost to the pre-app, please?
Yes, so at the moment, what we'll do is enter into an arrangement with the RTO, whoever it might be, of $30 per student, and the RTO can then charge the student whatever they like.